So you want to buy a foreclosure. So I'm Jen Beeston. When I got into the mortgage market, it was 2007. So for anyone who knows a little bit of history, that was when the entire housing market was imploding. So my first 5-6 years in the business was dealing with foreclosure financing, and that's what I specialized in. So foreclosure financing is something I know very well, and I'm happy to share what I know with you today. So here's the deal. A lot of times people go, oh, well, you can't finance foreclosures. We totally can. We really, as a lenders, we don't care if it's a foreclosure, if it's a short sale, if it's a normal sale. All we care about is the person who is selling it can legally sell it, the house is financeable, and you qualify. That's it. I don't care who the seller is in terms of foreclosure or private sale. Now, right now, we're in 2018. There's not a lot of foreclosures. There's some markets around the country where there's still some that are, hanging around, but overall, it's nothing like 2010, 2011, 2012, okay? And what I'm seeing a lot of is there's some websites that are claiming they have foreclosures, and if you pay for it, you get a secret list. Yeah, it's nonsense, okay? There's also a really big website that we all use for real estate that shows what they call pre-foreclosures. Well, pre-foreclosures just mean that person may have been late on their payment, that the bank may have started foreclosure proceedings 10 years ago, okay? But they're not actually ever gonna be foreclosed on. So fun story, there was a house in my neighborhood in 2009, and it said pre-foreclosure, and I was like, oh my God, this is the one, and it had a price by it, and for the neighborhood, it was incredibly low. I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, it still says that. So if you're looking at a website and it says pre-foreclosure and it has a number, generally that's what the people owe on it, and it does not mean in any way, shape, or form that house is ever gonna be a foreclosure. People get out of foreclosure all the time. They also negotiate with the bank. They may catch up on with payments, and these websites don't reflect that because they're pulling stuff from public records, and that doesn't get hit in the public record. So if you're online and you're like, oh God, I've been watching this house for 3 years, yeah, it's probably never gonna be a real foreclosure, okay? From my experience, the real foreclosures, you can end up buying one of 3 ways. Number one, it gets the banks, in the foreclosure heydays, they had specific realtors that they worked with. So you had Fannie Mae doing foreclosures, Freddie Mac, and then all the banks, Bank of America, Countrywide. It was Washington Mutual for a little bit, Chase, all of those. And they had specific realtors that they used, and those realtors would then put the foreclosures on the open market. So you would see it just like you see any other normal house, okay? So any other normal house, it's not hard to finance, it's not a big deal, it's not gonna affect your loan, okay? The other way was the courthouse steps. Now, the courthouse step is not something you can generally do a loan with. The reason is that you're going to the courthouse steps and you're generally gonna need cash, okay? And also you're buying a property without knowing if there's any other liens on the property, the condition of the property. It's not like you get to go look at the property. There's no open houses before it hits the courthouse steps. Courthouse steps are for hardcore investors with cash. The third way that people were buying foreclosures were at auction. So now there's some company that do online auctions, and some of those online auctions aren't actually foreclosures. But back in the day, there was actual foreclosure auctions where you would go and there'd be hundreds of people, and they would be, auctioning off 120 properties. And people would bid and bid and bid. But once again, it's not like you're going to an open house. And all these terms in the contracts, it wasn't like you had an inspection period or anything else. Like, it was very much like, I hope you like what you got. So my advice to borrowers was always, hey, look, if you want to buy a foreclosure, you want one that's listed by a realtor, because you want to be able to have some sort of negotiation. And with the ones that were listed with realtors, you could have an inspection period. You could have a loan contingency. You could have an appraisal contingency. And if you're borrowing money, those are important things to have. So if you're like, gosh, I really want to get a foreclosure, what I would recommend you do is don't fall for those websites that say they have secret lists. They don't. And if you see something that's in pre-foreclosure, realize that doesn't actually mean it's ever going to be a foreclosure. It just means that at some point, those people weren't making their payments. It doesn't mean that they are hosed and it's all over. So you want to be really careful of that, because I have a lot of buyers right now who are like, well, Jen, I saw it online and it's a pre-foreclosure and it's $300,000 less than everything else in the neighborhood. Well, yeah, because that's what they owe on it. And if they ever got to a point where the bank was going to foreclose, they would just sell it for market price, right? It's not like a bank's not going to sell a property for $300,000 less than the market. So you got to be really careful, because those types of things online look super enticing, but they're not real. So if you have questions about foreclosure financing or foreclosures, feel free to reach out to me. Like, that was my thing. Seriously, day in and day out, foreclosure, short sale, short sale, short sale. So I am happy to share with you every single thing I saw, and I saw a lot. So thanks for watching.